when I was announced as president was oil marketers. And they came to tell me, we have a shortage of dollars, we're running out of fuel, we have a problem, and many other things. And we were then running a subsidy program on fuel that was not working. We were running a subsidy program on unga that was not working. And we had so many other subsidies that were not working. So I had to make the decisions to pull out our economy from where it was. And the choices were few. Either I made the difficult choices, or I'll continue to borrow more money, and default was imminent. In fact, I remember same thing, 10% every employee, 5% every employer. In Kenya, 200 shillings employer, 200 shillings employer. MNOs, we agreed that we will get them out. We brought in the Hustler Fund to backstop everybody. Today, we have liberated everybody from the CRB. Now, we have a better ecosystem. So what has happened to the economy? Over the last 2.5 years, 4 things have happened to the economy because of the decisions we made. Number one, inflation has come down from 9.6. Check it today. It is 3.8. Number two, our exchange rate, which was close to 165 for the last 14 months, our exchange rate is at 129, down from 165. What is the position of our dollar reserves? It's gone up from $6 billion as of last month. It was $11.8 billion, our dollar reserves. It's gone up from 2.5 months of import cover. We are now at 5 months of import cover. If you follow world economics, IMF last month announced that Kenya has moved from being the 8th largest economy in Africa in 2022 to being the 6th largest economy in Africa this year. So the decisions we made, difficult as they were, has given us dividends. Our exchange rate has stabilized. Inflation has come down. And our numbers are looking good. It is a commitment I made to the people of Kenya. It is a commitment I am willing to do an exam on as to whether I passed or I did not. Number two, you know very well that when we were running for office, we had a huge problem of cost of living. Unga was retailing at 240. We had many other issues. And I made a decision that we are not going to continue subsidizing consumption. And I said it in black and white, that instead of subsidizing consumption, which never solves any problem, we were instead going to invest in production. It is the reason why we put more money, not in subsidizing unga, not in subsidizing fuel. We put more money in subsidizing fertilizer, seeds, and the agricultural sector. We managed to bring down the cost of fertilizer from about 6,500. I remember when I discussed with KTDA, down to 3,500, and finally down to 2,500. We managed to subsidize seeds. We managed to work with the farmers. We registered all the farmers. For the first time, government of Kenya was working on data. We had never registered our farmers ever since. But today, I can confidently tell you we have 6.5 million farmers. We know those who do coffee. We know everybody's farm, the size. We know those who do tea. We know every farmer's detail. And we can direct subsidies to the people who need it most. As a result, and by the way, the process of registration of farmers was very interesting. We had been given a bill of 6 billion shillings by somebody who wanted the process of registering farmers. We didn't have 6 billion shillings, and I was not willing to look for it. So what did we do? We mobilized our chiefs, assistant chiefs, and Likuru, Mzee wa Mitaa, all those people, because they live in the villages. Today, we have a solid database. We collected that data in 1 month for free. And I can tell you that the challenges we used to have in distributing fertilizer, distributing seeds, are now behind us. The crooks who used to collect, somebody has 3 acres, they go get fertilizer for 100 acres, they sell the balance, and they cause unnecessary shortages. That is now behind us. If you are a farmer today, including William Ruto, I have a voucher. I can only buy as many bags as my piece of land is registered. And we have gotten rid of corruption. We have eliminated theft of fertilizer. Today, we can, with sufficient accuracy, know how much fertilizer we need for our coffee, for our tea, for our sugarcane, for our maize, and all the other crops. What has happened? I committed myself that I was going to modernize agriculture, because I understood a bit of it because I have been Minister of Agriculture before. Today, I can stand here before you, and if you have parents at home, they will tell you. Our coffee is doing better. Our tea is doing better. Our maize, we've gotten more production. And we are streamlining the sugar sector, including now going to cotton, going to rice. As a result, because of the process we have gone into, modernizing agriculture, building information into it, bringing technology into the agricultural space, making the right subsidies in production, not in consumption. Last year, let me give you the statistics for last year. Our maize production has gone up by 50%. From 44 million bags last year, we harvested 64 million bags. This year, we are targeting 75 million bags. The people who used to carry superiors in the streets, led by Mbadi here, yeah, have left the streets because the price of unga has come from 240, is now 160, 140, 120. Tea. In 2022, we sold our tea exports and sales were 138 billion. Last year, our tea was 215 billion. Those of you sitting here who grow coffee, a kilo of coffee was 65 shillings in 2022. A kilo of coffee today is between 110 and 150. Why? We have subsidized fertilizer. We have chased away the cartels. The people who are registered as farmers, brokers, millers, and also buyers at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. We have gotten rid of them, and we have streamlined that sector. Farmers are making more money. It is a commitment I made that I would do, and I can proudly tell you that today we are making more money from our agriculture. I can confidently tell you today we have streamlined the sugar sector, which had big problems. Unfortunately for the people in that sector who are taken hostage, the sugar sector, I had been Minister for Agriculture, so I knew where the problem was. So we've sorted it out, and in a space where sugarcane farmers, they were taking their produce, they wait for 6 months, maybe sometimes 1 year. And I'm sure if you have sugarcane farmers here or at home, they will tell you. Finally, there was no money. I had to look for money from government to go and pay farmers, to go and pay workers in sugar factories. And I told them that that was not going to go on. It's not going to be business as usual. If you heard that I made a phrase called Mambo ni Matatu, it was because of sugar. And I went and told those crooked people there, you have to get out of this space, because it was not going to be business as usual. So what has happened in that space? Because of the interventions we have made, production in the sugar sector has moved from 495, almost 500,000 metric tons in 2022. This year, we were at 815,000 metric tons. From 50 billion shillings every year to now 90 billion. And today I can confidently tell you, Mumias, which could not pay workers, which could not pay farmers, which could not pay taxes. Today, Mumias pays farmers every 7 days. Pays their workers every month. This year in January, we went to pay dividends to sugarcane farmers for the first time in the history of Kenya. I am not talking about what's going to happen. I am talking about what happened. And end of this year, by God's grace, because now we have brought the private sector using the Mumias experience into Nzoia, Chemelil, Muhoroni, and Soni. We will be doing the same end of this year. We will be paying dividends in our farming factories. So, and my promise to you is that in the next 4 years, 3 to 4 years, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. We have already licensed another 4 new factories. Farmers have grown sugar on an extra 200,000 acres of land in Kenya because they can now see a future to that enterprise. And so we're transforming the agricultural sector. And to be able to achieve that, I tell you, we've had a fight, big fight, you know. The cartels in the sugar sector did not want it to happen. They organized demonstrations, they intimidated leaders, and they did all manner of things, but I stood my ground, and I said, this is a job I have to do, and whatever it takes, I must do it. So what has happened in that space? We have now a much more predictable space. Sorry, gentlemen. There is I think you can leave it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay? So, what I can tell you is that because of the interventions we have done in the agricultural sector, and we are still miles away, we have now started interventions in the rice sector because we are still importing 70% of our rice. We shouldn't be. We're working on cotton. We're working on other value chains. And so that will eventually help us in two ways. Number one, we will substantially reduce the cost of living, because a huge portion of the expenditure of citizens is expenditure on food. It goes all the way to 55%. If you reduce that, then you substantially reduce the cost of living. So my assurance to you and to fellow citizens in Kenya is that because of the interventions we've done in the agricultural sector, we have reduced imports of maize, for example, by 80%. And we have reduced imports of sugar by 70%. Let me tell you this. We have been spending 500 billion Kenya shillings every year to import food, to import edible oil, to import sugar, maize, wheat, rice, 500 billion shillings every year. It is my intention, at least this year, I have reduced from 500 billion to 280 billion. I've cut off 220 billion. My intention is to cut it down to zero. And we can do it in 3 to 5 years. And it is the reason why, it is not by miracle, it is the reason why we have more money in our foreign exchange. The reason why our foreign exchange has grown from $6 billion to 11.8 is because we are using less of our money to import food which we can grow locally. Are we together? Yes. It doesn't require any magic. It doesn't require any rocket science. It just requires making the right decisions. Let me take you to the third issue that was of importance to me, because it is a commitment to the people of Kenya that I made, and it is the subject of education. We all know here that education is the equalizer that makes all of us equal, all children equal. We had a problem with the CBC. I remember when we were in the campaign trail, many people said we should abolish CBC, because parents did not know what was going to happen. They didn't know where junior school was going to be. It was not clear. So when I got into office, the first thing I did was to set up a task force led by Professor Munavu, and I put there very seasoned educationists and other professionals. They came up with a roadmap, which we quickly implemented to sort out CBC. We had huge problems with our university funding model. 23 universities were technically bankrupt. Many of them were paying half salary to their lecturers. You know that, cases of Egerton and many of the others. And we had very serious and acute shortage of teachers. So what has happened? Over the last 2.5 years, number one, we have hired 76,000 teachers. We are hiring another 24,000 teachers before January. So we will have 100,000 new teachers teaching our children. Number two, we have changed the funding model from being resources to the university. We now have a student-centered financing model that makes sure that we treat every student fairly, so that students from poor families can get up to 90% government scholarship. Because it is necessary for us to make sure that every child has an equal chance to education and an equal chance at life. We have also expanded infrastructure because there was clarity that many of our schools did not have adequate classrooms. Many of them had never seen a laboratory. So we have put up 23,000 new classrooms. 1,600 new laboratories are being built from 1st of this month so that we can create sufficient infrastructure to give an equal chance to all our children to do their education. So in that space, again, you had, there was kelele, because we said, you know, how do we, my child, I pay 200,000 every term in an academy, you know, but when I'm told, pay 50,000 a year, not a term, 50,000 a year for university, I have a problem with it. You know, because we have to live within our means. We couldn't afford to pay for all our children in university. So we had to reorganize that funding model, and that's why we made it student-centered. So a bit of kelele here and there, but we have since stabilized it. I remember going to cooperative university in Karen. And I had a conversation with the Vice Chancellor, I think he's called Professor Kamau. So I asked him, Professor, I want a honest feedback. What is your feedback on the new funding model that we have, that is student-centered, and the other model? He told me, Mr. President, I will tell you three things. Number one, I can pay all my lecturers on time. I can pay all my suppliers on time. And I can pay your taxes on time. But then he said that there is something you need to correct. There are some students that sometimes are put in the wrong band. So you need to make sure that the means testing instrument that places students in different categories is accurate. I told him, thank you very much. That is good feedback. So we are reworking the means testing instrument to make sure that it is much more accurate. So we have collected more data to make sure that when we place a student in a certain band, it is the correct band so that we don't disadvantage any student by putting them in the wrong band. I know it is, I know time is running, so I want to conclude by saying two final things. We also agreed, and you heard me speak about it, about health. And I did say, health is not a privilege for those who can afford. Health is a right for every Kenyan. And as a result, we needed to change the health delivery mechanism because it wasn't sensitive. We had NHIF that did not quite reach out to people who did not either have a job. It was based on people who have a job and those who can afford. But everybody gets sick. It's not those who can afford and those who have a job. Everybody gets sick. And the Constitution, Section 43, says every Kenyan, mandates government, in fact, commands government to make sure that every Kenyan has access to health. You also know that universal health coverage has been a discussion we have had as a nation for many years. It was in the NASA manifesto. It was in the NAC manifesto. It was in the Jubilee manifesto. In fact, one of our big four in Jubilee was universal health coverage. In this election, it was in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. It was in the Azimio manifesto. And somebody had to do something about it. And we've had too many false starts. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o tried it, it didn't work. You remember Ngilu tried it, it didn't work. You remember we tried it as a Jubilee, it failed. This time round I said, it cannot fail. Because I have had sufficient experience to be able to deal with this thing. So we put together our universal health coverage plan. I can now tell you with a lot of confidence, right, that we have a health insurance scheme that leaves no Kenyan behind. I can tell you that. And I want you to try it, right? I want you to try it. Because in the old NHIF, in fact, it was destined to collapse because we had accumulated debts of 30 billion shillings, and it was growing by $1.5 billion every year. It wasn't reducing. So it was destined to crash at some point. So what did I do? We changed the law. We had to start from zero because we had tried to operate with the law the way it was. It failed once, it failed twice, it failed 3 times. It was clear to me that we had something that was fundamentally wrong. So we worked on a new bunch of laws. We replaced the NHIF Act with 5 pieces of legislation. Thankfully, Parliament passed the laws. We changed the contribution structure because, let me tell you, you know very well that the least you could pay under NHIF was 500 shillings. The small people, Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, they paid 500 shillings. William Ruto, the president of Kenya, paid 1,700. How much? 1,700. So a person earning 1 million is paying 1,700. What percentage of his earning is that? 0.01%. Are we together? Mama Mboga, whose income is 5,000 shillings a month, is paying 500. What percentage is that? 10%. So the poor people are paying 10%. The rich guys are paying 0.001%. Is there an element of fairness there? Even if you calculate it using what language? So we said, let's change the contribution structure. Let us make it uniform. Let us make it equitable. Today, the law demands that each and every one of us, from Mama Mboga to the president, pays 2.75% of their income to SHA for health insurance. The small people have come down from 10% to 2.75%. The big guys like myself and you guys seated here have come from down. We are now, all of us, at 2.75%. That's how I became Sakayo. Yeah? Because we wanted a fair. How will you argue? How will you argue with that? You know? So what has happened? I'm paying more. I think I pay now 50,000 a month from 1,700. Mama Mboga has come down from 500 to 300. Are we together? We're raising more money. We're actually raising 3 times more money than we were raising in NHIF. Are we together? And today, it is possible for Mama Mboga, who never imagined that they would go for surgery and they would not have to sell their land or their livestock to pay, that SHA today pays for citizens equally. And you will hear many stories of what SHA is doing. As I talk to you on a daily basis, people in the informal sector who never participated in NHIF, they are registering, 50,000 people are registering every day on SHA. We had 7 million people. Do you know how many people we have today on the platform? 24 million. How many? 24 million. That is how transformative it is. So, and by the way, people are registering voluntarily. Today, if you ask somebody to go to come and do a fundraising for you because you have a health bill, the first question they ask you, are you registered in SHA? Because they know if you are registered in SHA, at least a portion of your bill would have been settled. And if you are not, they will tell you, instead of us doing the Harambee, let me register you in SHA, wende upambane na mambo mbele. So, I can tell you it's not perfect. It's not 100% there. But I can tell you we are on course. And I am determined and I'm clear that it's going to work. Because we have applied our mind to it. It took us almost a year to put together the legislation that now underpins our health insurance delivery. And my commitment is that to give every Kenyan a chance. If you want to try, *147#. I think that's a correct, somebody correct me if it is wrong. Correct? *147#. You will land on the SHA platform. You can register yourself there. They will take you to a place where they will assess you. And my commitment was let everybody pay pro rata on their income. The indigents, the people who cannot afford to pay, there will be about 1 million, 1.5 million, maybe 2 million, maybe 3, will be paid for by the government of Kenya. That is how we are going to make it universal. Are we together? That was my commitment on health, and I am very proud that we are all now moving in the right direction. The numbers speak for themselves. I get a report every evening because it is something that is so dear to me, and I see the numbers every day, and we keep correcting. We have closed down 1,000 fake hospitals. 1,000. And we are closing a few in the next coming days. Because there are still those who want to change. For example, somebody has gone there for an outpatient. They want to change it to be an inpatient so that they can claim more money. Those ones, we are going to shut them down. And we're going to make sure that the program is clean. What have we done? We deploy technology. Today, there are no exercise books. Whenever you went to hospital, you would carry a small slip, then the doctor writes something there, and then you go to the next place, and then we stop that. Now we have moved to a digital platform. Admissions are digital. Discharge is digital. Claims are digital. And we can track. That is why it is easy for us to discover who is doing what game. Just for you to understand the numbers, in the last 8 months, we have paid for treatment of 4.9 million Kenyans under SHA, and we have paid 53 billion Kenya shillings. By the end of the year, we will have paid something in the order of between 75 or 80 billion Kenya shillings for treatment. NHIF used to pay between 20 and 25 billion shillings every year. SHA is going to be paying 3 times. because we have brought more people into the equation. It is no longer a preserve for those who can afford. It is now a right for every Kenyan. And that is my plan. Are we together? Finally, we all understand that we have a challenge of unemployment. And we have to do something about it. And jobs must be deliberate. You must have deliberate government policy on how to create jobs. Jobs will not happen. They have to be created deliberately. And that is why my good friend here, Hinga, was showing you the numbers. So our program of housing, again, you people know here, housing was a standard manifesto item in all political parties. Every party said, oh, we are going to do housing. This one said, we are going to do housing. Even as in Jubilee, among the big four, one of them was housing. In fact, just so that you know, housing was our plan in 2017. So we went to the campaign, we talked about housing, said how we are going to do this thing. And we actually went out of our way. So when we won the election, my good friend Uhuru Kenyatta, my boss, then told me, look, this housing, I have a very good person who I know. I met him in South Africa. Okay, we must look for him. I told him, Mr. President, please, let's look for him. We looked for the fellow, we found him. He's called Charles Hinga, this man here. This man was brought by President Uhuru. He told me, this man knows this thing. Okay? So we passed the law. 2018, we have put a levy. The levy was 1.5% levy. Okay? So we signed, Uhuru signs the law into, the bill into law, and the kelele starts. You know? Kelele everywhere. You know? So my good friend Uhuru called me and said, William, I thought you have a house. I told him, I have a house. Okay. Okay. So this noise people are making around here, you know, if these people don't want these houses, let's forget about it. You know, we're not going to be building houses for ourselves. That's how the housing thing died. So the next celebration, he went and announced this housing thing is now voluntary. So nothing happened. So by God's grace, you know, Hinga did not leave. So I hung around, bahati mzuri nikakuwa rais. Bas. Na iko ile tumeweka kwa manifesto, I spoke about it everywhere. This housing thing. In every political meeting. So when we now reinstated the law, the members of parliament came to see me and said, oh, you know, this thing is so unpopular. We cannot do this thing. No, we cannot. So I asked them, friends, were we together in the campaign trail? Yes. Did we promise housing? Yes. How did you expect it to be done? Do you have a different plan of delivering this thing? No. So let's do the levy. We did the levy. And for your information, the levy in our manifesto in Kenya Kwanza did not even have a percentage. The levy that had a percentage was in the Azimio manifesto. The one Kinambadi and these other people. And Olekina there. Yeah? Was 1.5%. Sasa, these are the people now who call me Zakayo. Oh, unajua sasa huyu Zakayo amelete tax. Sijui nini. But, good people, it is not possible for us to borrow money to do housing. this is the instrument, and this is what other countries have done. Today, housing is transforming the landscape of Kenya. Believe you me, if you see what is happening to our towns, go to Mandera, go to Wajir, go to Mombasa, Kitui, Machakos, Nairobi, anywhere, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nanyuki, Kakamega, Homa Bay, Migori, everywhere. The largest housing estate today in every town in Kenya is our housing program. The landscape, the skyline of many towns is changing. And for your information, this is just 1.5 years. Tell me what's going to happen in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. Kenya is going to change fundamentally when we are here. For those of you living here, you will come home and you will be looking for the compass to find your way around. Are we together? And not just that, you've heard from Hinga. Apart from that, we have big dividends. We have 300,000 people now, actual people working. We have architects, quantity surveyors, engineers, plumbers, artisans, electricians, carpenters, masons, name them, working. People who have gone to school, people who have certificates, people who have come from college, they are finally finding a place to do some formal work. Not just that, we have now whole construction industries developing to do doors, to do windows, to do hinges. And we are moving on now to tiles. Shortly we will be doing lifts. We already agreed that we work on companies that will now come and set up shop in Kenya to do lifts. And on and on. So a whole construction industry is developing in Kenya. We have a pipeline of 700,000 houses. You've seen the numbers here. And we are going to not only create jobs, not only create industries, but we are also going to have to get rid of the 7 million Kenyans who today live in slums. And we're going to have, better living conditions, places of dignity. Sometimes, you find some arguments. Oh, who told this man that we needed houses? I get those kind of things many times. But you see, ask yourself, somebody who shares a toilet with 5 other families, one that you have to pay to use, people who have, there is no road, electricity much more expensive, water is much more expensive, living in Kenya. For those of us who live in houses that have 2, 3, 4, 5 toilets, you take them for granted. There are people who don't have a toilet. In fact, many of the people that we've given social houses in Mukuru, the best thing they celebrate is not the house. It is the fact that they have a toilet of their own. I mean, look at that. Look at that. That's how serious it is. And that is how so much of indignity that sometimes people live in, which we take for granted. And that is why we ask silly questions. Who told you we needed houses? At least for once. You should appreciate that there are people who need them more than you think. So I was talking to you about jobs. There we are creating jobs. I also made a commitment that we are going to expand the digital superhighway, as we called it, because we needed to bring more people into the space of digital jobs. As you are aware, Kenya has the best human capital anywhere in the world. We speak the best English. I say we only speak, we are only second to the British. Yes. We speak the best English anywhere. Ask any corporate anywhere in the world. They will tell you Kenyans speak the best English. And we have the best education. And we are the least supervised when we are given a job. So we have the best human capital. And therefore, and we live in a global world. It is said, and statistics are there, that 40% of the world's workforce will come from Africa by 2050. We need to take the front, we need to step forward early. Are we together? And that is why Rosalind is here. The reason I asked this girl, my PS, and you guys asked me that you needed a diaspora ministry. We didn't get a diaspora ministry. I couldn't stretch it that far. But I got a state department dedicated to matters diaspora. And today we have streamlined, with the assistance of the State Department of Diaspora, working with the Ministry of Labor, we have streamlined, apart from the jobs we are creating in our housing and other public sector infrastructure, we have now identified labor mobility, that Kenyans being a strong workforce, we can work anywhere in the world. And we can work anywhere in this globe. And that is why we have straightened, we've made it much more clear. We have eliminated characters who are taking advantage of Kenyans. There was a lot of fraud. We had 1,600 registered, those agencies, they are called what? Yes, private recruitment agencies. We had 1,600 of them. Many of them were crooks. We deregistered almost 900 of them because they had one problem or another. We demanded that any job placement must be put on the portal. We now have a portal so that we can make sure that we can track any Kenyan who is going to work outside Kenya. We must know where they are going, which company is employing them, how much are they being paid, what kind of job are they doing, and how do we get them to come home when it is necessary. And that's the job Rosalind has. Because we have streamlined that whole space, we now have a good record of Kenyans working abroad. In the last 2 years, ever since we streamlined that space, how many Kenyans have we placed there, Rosalind? 400,000 Kenyans. You know, when I say this, people cannot fathom. They can't believe it. But that's the reality. And the statistics are there. And for your information, our remittances from diaspora remittance has gone up from $4 billion in 2022. We are now at $4.95 billion. We have almost $1 billion more. That is 120 billion shillings more because of the more Kenyans that are now working outside Kenya. It is my intention to take that to not $5 billion, as you may be waiting, to $10 billion, and it is doable. It is also the reason why today we have more reserves, because we have more people working in that space. That's number 2. Number 3, finally. I could tell you number 4, number 5, and number 6, but let me leave it at number 3. We are expanding the space in our digital jobs ecosystem. We now have 185,000 people working on our digital jobs platform. From CCI, if you go to Ruiru, you will find 5,000 people working in one building at CCI. And you find many other smaller, including in our TVETs. There are many Kenyans now who are earning in dollars, working on the digital platform, because we have streamlined that space, and it's the reason why we are spreading fiber optic around Kenya. So you should just know that apart from sometimes the many insults in the social media, there are people who are using the internet to earn real money. Forget about the insults. Forget about the pornography and all the other things there. There are people who are using internet to earn money and to sustain their livelihoods and to sustain their families. And that is the space we are working. So we are deliberate about where we are creating jobs. I can tell you with confidence, we have 300,000 jobs in the housing sector. You can go and see it for yourself. We have 400,000 Kenyans who have gone out in the last 2 years. We can give you the statistics and their names. We can tell you with confidence that we have Kenyans working in the digital space. We know where they are. We know what they are doing. And we will continue to push that space. I do not wish to say more than that. I just wanted to let you know, because I know sometimes you're here and you get to read our newspapers. It is bad news from page 1 to the last page. Headline after headline, you will think home is burning. I want to tell you that somebody is telling me some information here. You will come and tell them. I don't know. You will come and tell them. So this is what it is. So my ask of you is, we have a country to look after. I did promise that I will lead from the front. I want to tell you, I will lead from the front. Yes. Because I have a job to do. I told you, it's not always that you get an opportunity to be president. And it is my responsibility to make a difference. Tough as the choices are, difficult as the decisions are, I will make those decisions so that we can move the country forward. Because if I don't, we will mark time. I mean, for me, many people tell me, oh, you should not have made too many difficult decisions in your first term. You should have waited so that you can do them in your second term. My friends, if I can do it in 5 years, why do I need to wait for 10 years? Let me do it. Are we together? Yes. Because these decisions we've always postponed. We have to make them. Somebody has to make these decisions. I have decided that I am the person to make these decisions for Kenya, so that we can change our country. So that we can change our country. Are we together? So that we can change our country. I could choose to be popular, to make convenient decisions, but that's not me. Let me make the decisions that will change Kenya, and I am very proud that we are moving the country forward. So with those many remarks, let me stop there and to give an opportunity to you to ask me maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 questions, and then I will answer, and then we'll call it a day. I know